Hello everybody and welcome back to our wonderful Drarry Advent Calendar with the story A Husband for Christmas by Jollylove. Today we are at day 18. Run, Rudolph, run. After an eventful day, like he had yesterday, Draco had tried to talk to Scorpius, but he had pretended not to be there. Even during meals. Not that Draco had blamed him. How had he been so blind to think that Simon would be helping him? Would the others in this matchmaker pool have been any better? Or were all of them just out for money? When it was time for lunch, Draco sighed and decided to talk to his son, since he once again didn't show up for meals. And so he knocked on his door and listened for a sound.
Scorpius, I need to apologize. Please open the door.
No sounds. Draco sighed.
Scorp, I know you don't trust me right now, but I want to tell you that I'm not going to marry Simon. Harry was right.
There was still no noise. Draco frowned and pressed the door handle down. If anything, the mentioning of Harry should have at least made Scorpius say something. The room was empty. No Scorpius.
What?
Draco stood there for a good second before registering what was going on. He grabbed his jacket and saw Scorpius gone. Where was he? When had he left? Did he go right after Simon had left? Draco shivered. Oh, Merlin, please let him be safe. Draco spent the rest of the afternoon checking the surrounding area, but he found nothing. Not even a tracing spell revealed where Scorpius had gone. Maybe he wanted to see Harry himself. But for that, Scorpius needed to walk to London and then to wherever Harry was living. Did he even know where that was? And how could he get to London? Well, he was already walking for possibly a full day. Still, Draco needed backup. He apparated into a side alley in London and found himself close to the ice cream shop Scorpius had dragged him to. And without thinking, he walked through the rainy streets and entered the shop. Weasley stood behind the counter and smiled at him as he entered.
Good afternoon. Can I get you anything? Have you seen my son since yesterday?
Draco couldn't be bothered to be polite. He needed to find Scorpius. Apparently, Weasley hadn't thought he would ask something like that, as he opened his eyes, rather surprised.
Scorpius? No, I haven't seen him.
He turned around to the kitchen.
Rose, darling.
When the red-headed girl showed her face, Weasley smiled.
Have you seen Scorpius around since yesterday?
Rose shook her head.
No, but he wrote a letter telling me he'd like to come by someday soon.
Did you recognize the owl?
Draco asked, hoping that Rose had a great memory, but she just shrugged her shoulders sheepishly. Weasley placed a hand on Draco's shoulder.
Don't worry, Harry's usually arriving any second now. I'm sure he'll help you find your son.
As if to prove a point, the door opened not a second later, and the black-haired wizard walked in with Pansy's 2 children.
Get something small, children. We're not staying here forever.
Harry froze when he found Draco standing there. Draco too was frozen, but mostly out of fear for his son, and not because he saw a glimmer of hope in Harry's eyes before it died quickly. Luckily, he didn't have to say anything, as Weasley was talking for him.
Hey, Harry, Lord Malfoy can't find his son. If you go look for him too, I'll look after Parkinson's little ones.
Nodding slowly, Harry seemed to come out of his frozen state, while the children cheered for being able to stay at this amazing place. He cleared his throat and closed the door behind himself.
Where have you checked, Lord Malfoy?
Harry asked, with a certain distance in his voice. For some reason, it made Draco tear up. Scorpius' flight and Harry's distance was more than he could bear. He felt his hand tremble, and long before, his knees gave out under him, and he fell to the floor, tears streaming down his face.
Hey, it's okay, Draco.
A voice broke through the barriers. Draco felt something soft under him. He wasn't on the floor anymore. Did he pass out? Did he find Scorpius yet?
We'll find him, okay? Calm down, nothing's going to happen to him.
Draco was breathing rapidly and quickly realized that they were in the back of the ice cream shop on a sofa, Harry next to him having placed a protective arm around him. It only took Draco a few seconds to calm down, and he rubbed his eyes, slightly ashamed of having lost control in front of Harry. However, Harry didn't seem bothered as he rubbed his back and was whispering calming things at him. After a few seconds, Draco was back to normal as one could be with a child missing, and he got up.
I was checking Malfoy Manor and then this ice cream shop. I don't know where else to look.
Harry sighed.
I might know.
He offered his hand for a side operation, and shortly thereafter they arrived at the Leaky Cauldron. Walking through the crowd, Harry led Draco to the counter where one of the Patil twins was working.
Hey, Pavati, did someone use the code Chocolate Frog?
He asked, and Draco frowned slightly. Yes, half an hour ago.
He looked a little young. It's room 24.
Harry nodded and dragged Draco up the stairs to the private rooms as if he had lived here for years. He seemed to be familiar with everything. In front of the room, Harry knocked before simply opening the door. Draco froze when he finally found his child sitting on the bed, head in his hands, crying. The only things that made him react was when he saw Scorpius throwing himself at Harry with just enough time stabilizing himself before he tightened his hug around the child.
It's okay, Scorpius. It's going to be okay,
Harry said quietly while Scorpius started crying again.
Nothing bad is going to happen to you anymore, okay? Your dad is here to protect you. I'll stay too if you guys want me to. It's going to be fine.
Scorpius nodded and clutched Harry's shirt in his hands.
Please don't leave me again,
he whispered.
I want you to be my dad.
Harry seemed gobsmacked as he looked down at the crying child.
You need some sleep, Scorpius. Have you been walking the whole day?
Draco saw Scorpius relax infinitely while he talked to Harry and suddenly felt so guilty. He'd wanted to rip his son away from somebody like him. Harry was only supposed to be in his life for a few days, but looking at that, he knew that his son probably also thought of Harry as his father. While Harry carefully placed the half-asleep Scorpius in the bed, tucking him in, Draco sat down on a chair on the opposite side of the room. Harry looked at him slightly concerned and sat down next to him.
Sorry,
Draco finally said after being quiet for quite some time.
You were right about everything.
Harry smiled softly.
Doesn't make me feel better, even though I hoped it would.
Rubbing his forehead, Draco sighed.
I still have to leave the manor. I'm not married. I already wrote the matchmaker who said it was a lost cause, and I've sent Simon away. If you want, I could help you pack. Also keep an eye on Scorpius, not that he decides to run away again.
Draco chuckled tired.
I would appreciate that very much.
To be continued.